Chapter 4, Treading with Music. My love for music started on the drums, and years later I found a passion in writing poetry and songs. That formula mix of rhythm, poetry, and worship is what birthed the artist that I am today. I never knew when my dad would have another episode or disappear for a while, but I knew it would happen. So fighting and music seemed to be the best therapy at the time. The musical therapy would come through drums at every rehearsal and every Sunday morning at church. When I was playing drums, it's like I would get in this peaceful zone. Nothing mattered in that zone. I felt like it was my opportunity to communicate the heart of God to his people, and at the same time, it seemed like the best place that God can reach me. I often came to church and put on this front like everything was all good, but it wasn't. And no one knew what was really going on with me except for my family and my best friend, Rodney. Some Sundays I would come to church and him and Granny would tell me, "You're going to be all right, man. Just get your mind ready to worship." But here was the problem. What about when I got off the drums? After leaving that zone, I had to face reality, the reality of a broken home and a broken heart. So in a season of confusion and brokenness, I found this peace in writing. And a brother named Michael Hell, he spoke into my life at an early morning prayer service, and he told me that one day I would write songs that would touch people all around the world. Shortly after that, I began to write worship songs that I was too shy to sing at the time myself. But really, I wasn't concerned about writing worship songs that would touch other people anyway, because the songs that I was writing was reaching the person they needed to reach, which was me. That worship provided me with that inner peace that I needed. But it took years of trial and error and growth for me to realize that, I was tripping a little bit. And I was tripping because I never needed to leave that zone. That zone that I'm talking about is the presence of God, and it's his will that we live there. It wasn't about physically being on a drum set or being able to sit down and write a song or a poem. It's about that one-on-one time spent with the Father. I learned some more things that I can do to ensure that I stay in that place. And the first thing was to pray. Prayer is my direct line to the Father. And like the saints of old would say, he's on the main line. Tell him what you want, right? And there's a little truth to that. But that main line or that direct line is more so for intercession, direction, or instruction. The phone line is never busy or tied up. Another thing I can do to stay in the presence of God is praise continuously. If it's true that God inhabits the praises of his people, or God lives in the praises of his people, I can ensure that his presence stays around me by praising him, because praise attracts his presence. I also learned that the most impactful worship that I can experience is in my private time. Am I suggesting that I can get what I need from God before going to a church building? Yes, indeed. It's the most intimate time. Just you and God, no interruptions. As Prophet Terry Goldman, my good friend, brother, mentor, also author of Song of the Redeemed Bride, would say, it's that time under the tent. The tent is where it's just us and the Father. It's that place where he reveals himself to us, and that place where he stretches us so we know our ability in him. Now, I'm not going to rewrite his book, but I will say this. Any worship leader, musician, or pastor should have that book to have a better understanding of the power of being in God's presence. Tread with me.